Okay, it's January 1st, 23rd, or 27th, 2024. I'm here with Mr. Gorman, investigating a sighting he had of, what did you say, a gray alien entity in 1967 in near Hyco, West Virginia.
Hinton.
Right? Or Hinton, I'm sorry, Hinton, West Virginia. Could you, with the best detail you can, start how things led up to your sighting? You know, a little bit before that, then go into your sighting, and I'll ask you a few questions, and we'll go from there.
Okay. And it was in June of 1967. I was 10 and a half years old, and they had what was called a miners camp, coal miners camp for kids in Hinton, West Virginia, called Camp Thomas E. Lightfoot. And I went to that camp in June of 1967. And at the time there, about the third or fourth day there, the night that this happened, we had went to bed. And when I went to bed, I had to try to stay up either all night or most of the night because I was a bedwetter and I didn't want to do it there to be made fun of. So I stayed up, and one night that I had stayed up, I was laying in my bunk bed, which was at the end of the cabin, top bunk, and I heard the screen door to the cabin open. The door was at the far left of me. There was a little porch outside, and there's a light, big bright light on the porch to light the way if anybody had to get up and go anywhere. And when the door opened, I looked towards the door, and a small, thin, gray alien had walked through the door and was standing there. It turned and started walking down the length of the cabin. And as I was watching it, it got to within, it started out about 20 to 25 feet from me.
That would be where the door from the...
From the door.
Okay.
And as it walked down the cabin, it got to within 5 or 6 feet of me and a counselor that was in a bed at the end of the cabin. And it was walking, then the counselor rolled over in his bed, and the alien had stopped, and it must have startled it. It turned and literally ran back down the cabin, through the door open, and the screen door slammed, and the counselor woke up, sat up in his bed, and was looking around, rubbing his eyes, didn't see anything. He didn't see anything. And he laid back down and went to sleep. And what I did, I was so scared, I pulled the covers up over my head, and I laid there and did stay awake all that night. And the next morning, when we all got up, we got dressed, and we went down to the chow hall for breakfast. And as our group was standing there to go into the chow hall, I heard some counselors to the side of me that were talking about being down by the river that same night, and they had seen a UFO that was hovering. Then as it was hovering, it took off and kind of zigzagged back and forth a few times, and then in a flash it was gone. And they talked about that for about 5 or 6 minutes as we was waiting to go into the chow hall.
When the entity ran from the cabin, what do you think made it run?
I think when the counselor rolled over in his bed, it evidently, I would say it startled it, so it stopped. And when it seen it, he turned over, it just turned and ran out the door.
What would be your description of what you saw?
It was 4 to 4.5 feet tall, had a large head, large black eyes, a small slit like for a mouth. I saw him. Don't remember seeing the nose. I remember the arms were long, thin, and the hands were down just past the knees. And it had 4 digits on each hand. 3 of them were long and 1 of them was shorter. And the legs were short, is what I remember of it.
And you say gray in color?
Gray. It was gray in color.
Okay.
And the reason I know that because the light outside the cabin was like a, I would say at the time, maybe a 250 watt light bulb that would light up a lot of the area outside and part inside of the cabin, because it was all kids, and if kids got up in the middle of the night or something happened, they could see to move around the cabin or get out of the cabin.
So was the light behind the entity then, at the door?
It was up. It was up over the door and came down in a hook shape.
But as the entity came in, it was behind?
Oh, it was behind it. Yeah.
So it was still bright enough to shine in the door and
exactly
reflect in the cabin.
Right.
It didn't just backlight.
No.
Okay.
No, it shined in the cabin.
Okay. Earlier when I was talking to you, you said the light actually reflected in the eyes. So
yes. Yeah. There was a reflection in the eyes. You could see the eyes were big, kind of oval shaped. And you could see the reflection. They were black. It was black reflecting off of the.
Did you mention to anybody what you saw?
No, I was too scared.
Yeah, even though you heard the counselors talking about.
Yeah, even when the counselors were talking about it, I just listened.
What terminology did they use describing what they saw? Did they say UFO, or did they say something strange? A light? Well,
they said it was a disc-shaped object. And it was hovering, and it had light on it, with it emitted light, and it hovered for a while, and then as it was leaving, they said it left kind of slowly, then it would zigzag back and forth one spot to another, and then all of a sudden, just boom, it was just that quick, and it was gone, they said. I didn't ever talk to them because I was just too scared to say anything. But what validated it for me was when I heard their stories talking about being down at the river that night and seeing what they saw.
And how long was you at the camp after this?
I would say a week.
Nothing else happened during that week?
No, nothing else happened.
What happened after? Did you have any experiences or any kind of after effects?
Yes. Once I got back home where I lived, then about 2 weeks after being home, I started having a lot of sleep paralysis and nightmares about UFOs and things of that sort. And that went on for 5 or 6 years.
At any point during that 5 or 6 years with the sleep paralysis and dreams, do you feel that they were only dreams, or do you feel that there's a possibility that you were being visited?
I'd say out of the 5 or 6 years that there was probably maybe 2 or 3 times that I could have sworn that I was visited those times.
Did you see an entity like that again in those dreams? Or?
No, what I saw was the saucer shape, like over where our farm was. I could see on the hillside. I could see it sitting there hovering.
And was that at those times? Was that when you were talking about earlier with me seeing the beam of light, or was that later in life coming down? You said something about a beam of light.
Oh, this was before that.
Before that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a good possibility. Do you feel, I mean, in any of those times, do you feel that you were I mean, when you think they might have been visited, do you think you were abducted at any time?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it was just, I mean, it was so real that like I said, the 2 or 3 times from that I actually think I saw something.
Okay.
And there'd be times that I would, when I would go out, like up in the field towards the woods, and a lot of times I'd go and I'd lay down and just look up in the sky, and I would actually fall asleep in the woods, and that's when one of these times that this sleep paralysis happened to me, where I think I saw something hovering.
What
I was laying on my back.
Yeah. What possessed you to go to the woods and just go to sleep, though?
Oh, I did that all the time as a child. When I was growing up, I loved to go out in the woods, out in the fields, and when I get in the woods, I'd just lay down and go to sleep for a while. That's just what I did.
You did this prior, also, or
oh yeah,
after?
Even before I went to camp,
Okay.
I'd go sleep in the barn. I'd go up in the woods, like in the daytime or in the evening, and I'd just lay down in the woods and just lay there.
Okay. I was making sure that wasn't something that might have been in relation to your sighting or your experience. Okay. So it was something you did prior to.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you was talking about how long did those? You said 5-6 years. Was there a long break between like the dreams and the sleep paralysis?
No. The sleep paralysis for the 5 to 6 years that it happened, I'd say it was at least 6 or 8 times a month.
Okay.
That it would happen.
And that would include the dreams as well?
Yes.
And after that 5 or 6 years, how long was there a break in between before something happened again? Because, like I said, I do remember you telling me about that.
There was probably maybe a 3 or 4 year break in there. I'd say 3 years because I was. Let's see. I think I was 18 when I left home, and then when I was in the military, I started having nightmares again. And I would have been 21 at that time, 21, 22, 23 years old when I had the nightmares again during the time at the Air Force Base.
Mm-hmm. At that time, did you see anything then, or just the nightmares, or
it was just the nightmares? I don't remember seeing anything then. I mean, I can remember some of the nightmares I had, but I don't remember seeing anything as far as that goes.
And then the nightmares, was it, like I said, was it reliving what you experienced before, or was it just
some of it, and the other was just where a ship would come in, and like I said, the one night when I was in bed sleeping, I was dreaming that, because we lived in a trailer,
mm-hmm.
that a ship was hovering over the trailer and it was shooting beams of light down in through the trailer to where I was sleeping. And I reached out with my arm to grab one of the beams of light, and when my wife woke me up because I was hollering, I had the table lamp off the table, bedside table, in my arm, squeezing it.
Why did you reach for the light?
I think because when I was dreaming about the beams of light coming down, I thought I could trap them in my arm and hold them. That's the only thing I can think of.
Have you had any experiences recently, though? And that, because that's been,
No, not recently. No
dreams or anything recently.
No,
within the past 5 to 10 years.
No.
What? Why did you finally decide? Because you told me you basically only told your wife, for the most part. Why did you finally decide to reach out to tell somebody? For years I had wanted to tell somebody, but I was afraid to because of so much ridicule going on at the time. But as the years have gone by, there's more and more of this that came out, more and more discoveries about stuff, and people coming forward and not being afraid to come forward. And
I didn't exactly know where to go to get my story out there, and that's why I'm here today, because I wanted to get the story out there and be known what happened. And actually, that when I looked into over the years, there was a lot of things going on in West Virginia in 1967 as far as UFO activity. The late 60s, 66 to 1970, a lot of stuff going on in West Virginia with UFO sightings and other things going on.
Okay. Well, is there anything you would like to add? I mean,
well, the only other thing I can say is, you know, the few people that I do tell or did tell over the years, some still ridiculed and some believed it, but whether they believe what I say or not, I know what happened. I know what I saw, and just as they say on TV, the truth's out there, and it is out there, and I think they're here. I think they've been here for a long time.
All right. Well, let me ask you one thing. You say you think they're here, I think they've been here for long. Do you think they're actually beings from another planet, or do you think there's something that lives here that we just don't really understand, I guess you'd say, or have the knowledge, full disclosure knowledge of what they are?
As far as what I know, what goes on today, and with me being in the military and the stuff that wasn't talked about in the military, I would say that some of them came from somewhere else, and I think that some of them might have been here all along, because all the stories of, like hundreds of years ago, where people have seen stuff, and different indigenous people of this country that have been talking about this for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
So they had to have been here.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you, Mr. Gorman, and we'll go ahead and wrap it up there.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.